It's really nice being in Alan's flat.
Cool, yeah, we seem to be okay.
I'm a bit gutted. I thought it'd be a lot sexier.
Oh.
Maybe a bit seedier. I thought it'd be seedier. I'm raging. The sex swings, man. Where's the sex swings?
Well, welcome to the pod, Graham Connolly.
How you doing, man? You right? Hi.
What an introduction.
Hi.
Man, thank you so much for doing it, dude. Like, the whole point of this conversation started with you casually dropping on me at a show that you ran 200 something miles and slapped 2 minutes.
Aye.
We were watching Jack Trainer and Daniel Petrie's show at the Fringe.
The Edinburgh one, aye.
And you just went, oh yeah, I was doing this, and I was like, you fucking what?
Aye. I run a bit. I do a bit of running.
Do a bit of running?
Well, as stand-up, I do a bit of running.
Yeah. So I actually looked up a quote. So I mentioned this to you, but I looked up something you wrote, and I think it's a really good introduction about who you are as a person, right? It was a couple of years ago. Right, ready?
Right, go.
It said, Brexit means Brexit. Stop the boats. No, I'm just messing with you.
I wrote that. I'm not that clever, man. I'm not that highbrow.
With you. But you actually wrote something pretty cool. So like, it starts with, ultra running. To me, it's not just a hobby. It's a way of life. It's how I've chosen to live my life. For the most part, it's one of the best decisions I've ever made. Did you write this? Yeah.
I remember now.
Okay. It's brought so much good, so many good people. I fucking love my run fam. Right. This is the beautiful bit. This is where it gets interesting to me. But sometimes it hurts. And that's okay. It's part of it. It's essential. The pain teaches us. It lets us know where we went wrong or where we need to improve. Other times you're just unlucky, and all you can do is accept that shit and get straight to processing and mining for whatever learning you can find, so some good comes out of it. I mean, a lot of this is like this beautiful way of life stuff, you know what I mean? But this is where the details come out. I was like, what the fuck is this man doing? I smashed my shin and split it open when my leg went between some cobblestones. It was okay to start, and I got to Hebden feeling good. The amazing support staff fixed it up, and I started running again. Things changed. My shin started to hurt, and I couldn't run on it. Pulling it back out of the mud was interesting. Right. I called Graham Connolly, who I believe is your brother.
Yeah.
Right. And the plan was to power hike to the end. We recalibrated. It was still all very upbeat. There was a new goal. A few hours passed and both my calves went due to compensating, then my hip and my glute. Hobbling at 21 minute miles on the flat with 180 miles and a decent amount of climbing to go. The juice finally wasn't worth the squeeze. My body had broken down, had become a liability. I got 30 plus miles and 12 hours on my shin just to make sure. I love this. So I got 30 plus miles and 12 hours on my shin just to make sure. So I'm content quitting wasn't some shit justification my brain came up with overnight. So yeah, and then the rest is like thanking the team and your coach and all that stuff. And you end it with, but it wasn't to be, so I recalibrate again and find another goal again, because that's the life and that's what we do. The obstacle is the way.
The obstacle is the way, man.
Right, so who the fuck runs 12 hours on a split broken shin going, I just want to make sure this is not working?
It's kind of strange, man. It's like a hard, like I was saying, like when we were chatting about this before, it's kind of hard to like put across answers in between the two worlds that I kind of live in, because like I've got, for the first time in a long time, like hanging about with people who do stand-up, I've got like a lot of regular people in my life, and like, but then I've still got like a huge amount of people like feel like this kind of weird niche ultra running community. So like, see, to give you like a proper answer about running, I kind of see if I like try to make it sound as though I'm playing it down. No, you just listen. You just say the way you see it, and I'll react when I think it's like, what the fuck? So in like the kind of community I live in, like, see that. Alright, I smashed my shin up and it was split open and I put 12 hours on it, and I just had to make sure that's, it sounds weird, I know, but that's not actually excessive. That's kind of just, that's that's, you get used to it, man. It's like what you do. I think it's a lot, like I used to do like a lot of like boxing and cage fighting and stuff like that as well. And to start with, when you're talking to people like, oh, I had like a broken nose, so we just went in and we sparred with body shots that day. And that sounds kind of weird, but in that world, it's just completely normal, you know what I mean? And the ultra running thing's exactly the same. Like you spend literally every single week in pain, and you just spend every week breaking your body down, and then having a wee rest and building it back up. And ultimately what you're doing is is as well as getting your body physically ready to do like these really long, grueling races, what you're doing is you're building up your tolerance for pain and suffering, and you're getting all your kind of ideas and all your kind of beliefs and all that in line as well. So like, because the one thing you're absolutely guaranteed in an ultra marathon, no matter how short or how long it is at some point it's going to really suck. It's going to really be painful. So you need to be ready to do that. So like that, when you're split your shins wide open, you're kind of like, it'd be dead easy just to switch out and go like, oh, I can't do it anymore. So like you spent months like, this was going to happen, something was going to happen. In every race, let's say something does happen. So like I say, it's in the community, I mean, like that's just kind of like the norm. But when you hear, it is weird, because when you hear somebody else
read it
talking about it out of context,
voice,
you're like, I sound like a fucking idiot. But
no, I wouldn't call it an idiot. Like, I respect it.
Do you know? I kind of wish you'd found like a really kind of meaningful quote of a race that I never fucked up. But I went back and I did. The entry opened for the race like 4 weeks after or stuff, and like I'd committed like 2 years of my life to that race, because I started training for it, and then like that, what was the wee thing, 2020, something about the flu or something happened, and it got can't mind, and it got cancelled, whatever it was, something, and it got cancelled. So then I'd like I don't want to trigger all the fucking crazies. So then like it got cancelled, so then it was like another year, and then I kind of eventually got to do it. I think like, was it 2 years later or something? So I smashed my shin, and it was really, really unlucky. You've got like these big kind of massive cobblestone things, and there was like a wee gap about the width of a foot plus about 6 millimetres. And there was all these big black puddles. You're up to like your knees in water at some point, and I just managed to step in one. I managed to get my foot in, but my foot got trapped, and then my leg went forward, and it smashed my shin. It split it open. But like I say, just kind of carried on. And then like my wife's like, oh, you were just dead unlucky, and I was doing really well in the race. I was about 6 or something. I was in the top 10. It was like a pretty competitive field. And my wife's like, you need to go back. And I was like, you're right, well said. So I did go back, and I took it a lot easier the following year. And a pal of mine was doing it as well. So the two of us are like, right, let's just enjoy the experience. We'll not worry about racing. We'll just chill out. So I was explaining to him, we were in the exact same part of the course, and I was explaining to him what had happened to me the year before. And you've got like these kind of pole things for getting up hills and stuff and keep you upright, because it's so icy and muddy and stuff in the Pennine Way. And I was like, just make sure you keep putting your stick on the wet bits and the cobblestones. And I was like, just any wee black bits, just test it. And he put a foot there and a foot there, and then he put a stick there and a stick there, and I did the exact same thing. And then I just managed to do the exact same thing 12 months later, while I was talking to my pal about what I'd done 12 months before, and I smashed my shin again. That was devastating, because like the first year I was like really racing hard, I was really pushing, and it was like a bad accident. The second year it was just like insane, and the fact I was actually talking about it. But I didn't split my shin this time it just swole up, and you've got like a post-tib tendon runs down here, and like my shin swole up that much that it crushed the post-tib tendon and just kind of locked my foot in that position. Like if I bent that, it was like fucking agony. But this time, like I just thought, right, I'm just gonna. I knew I wasn't going to get like another 200 miles on it or something, you know what I mean? So I just jacked it early. But so I fucked that race up twice in a row now, and I'm doing it again in January. Actually, I'm doing it again in a couple of months.
So you know what?
I'm going back.
You know what not to do with the cobblestones?
Well, my wife, like, she said that the first time I smashed my shin, my daughter said it, my wife, she's like, you should wear my daughter plays a lot of football, and she's like, you should wear my shin guards. And I'm like, don't be ridiculous, I'm not wearing the shin guards. My wife's like, you're wearing fucking shin guards. I was like, I'm not wearing shin guards. And then I went back and I smashed my shin again.
And now
I walked in the front door and she
like,
just sat there like that. Get on Amazon, buy some shin guards. She's actually got a reminder on her phone that comes up every now and again.
Okay, I mean,
shin guards.
I love that she cares, because before when she said, yeah, just go back, I was like, how much is your life insurance? Because it does sound like she's...
It's not that she cares. Well, maybe she does. But it's more the impact that the preparation of this race has on our life. Like, it's huge, you know what I mean? It's like all in, you know? It's like when you start, like, the race is called the Spine. When you're spine training, it's like taking on a part-time job, you know what I mean? Like the amount
so,
of
like, what is the training?
It's just a lot of time in the dark, in the winter, wearing a big heavy rucksack and muddy, hilly terrain. Just hours and hours and hours.
When you're running, or you walking this, or?
Well, that's the thing. It's the Pennine Way is so varied. You need to get used to running. You need to get used to walking, hiking, slipping about. So I'm quite lucky. I live in the foot of the Kilpatrick Hills, and it's like just a pure bog fest. So like I can just literally go out my front door and run about a mile and just be in the hilly muddy shit. So like you're probably about 14 hours a week or something, I'd imagine, because you're trying to get the same mileage as you normally would, but it takes a lot longer because you're moving slower with all the weight and the terrain and stuff. So then adding like a 14 hour a week part-time job into your home, and then the thing as well, like the preparation for like going out to run a 268 mile race, like the kit you need to get. It's weeks and weeks, and like, just.
So a 268 mile race. How many hours? How much? I'm trying to understand this. How much do you run in like without a break? And how many days are we talking about?
It's hard to kinda. It just depends how you go for it. Like the first year I did it, and I was doing there. Like I wanted to do well. I wanted to race it because, like, I don't know. I'd spent years getting ready for it, and I thought I can be competitive. And actually, me and a pal of mine had set like a fastest known time thing. That was a big thing that did popular during lockdown. So all these running junkies, there was no competitions.
So you were doing just sort of like measuring yourself.
You'd pick a trail and you'd go and run it as fast as you could. And then there was like a FKT website, and everybody would just upload their times on. And so it was the 26th of April, and it was the day that they went and let us out of lockdown. And like 2 days before it or something like that, like I just sent a message to like my pal and another couple of mates, like, let's go and do Cape Wrath, let's just do it. And like we just went for it, and we did like an FKT on Cape Wrath. It was about 240 miles. So like I was feeling really confident the first time, because like that was tough, man. It was brutal. And I ended up, when I was doing that, like on the second day, I got like I put this tape over the top of my feet because they were rubbing, and then like the whatever the glue was, then it reacted really poorly with my skin, and I ended up with these wee tiny blisters. But you're in it, so like you're not even caring. You're just like, right, rip it off. And I put some more tape on, but when I ripped that tape off, I ended up with all these wee tiny bits of skin missing. And on the second day, I ended up with like an infection in my feet. And then like for the next 2 days, like my feet were like watermelons, man. It was like brutal, absolutely brutal. But kind of normal in the kind of world I live in, like just to run with an infection in your feet for 2 days. And but getting through that, like that. But it was like going through the fires of hell. Getting through that.
That's the thing about infections like that, especially like injuries here. It's not that, it's just that annoying pain. It's just
Well, they were all right. It was like I actually got an infection that spread right through both of my feet, so they all swole up. So they were like compressed into my shoes. And like it got to a point I kept
well,
looking down.
You don't have to worry about your shoes falling off.
Well, that's it. I just couldn't take them off anymore. And like it got to a point, like I kept looking down, and you're like totally sleep deprived because you've no slept for like 3 days or something. And I kept looking down, and I was like, it was squelching because we're wet, but I kept expecting to see blood just coming out of them, you know what I mean? Like, that's how painful it was. Thankfully, it never. But, like, in light of all that happening, by the time I got to the spine for the first time...
Yeah, go,
I was feeling competitive, so, like, I pushed through and I was running, but then the second time, like, I was literally just out with my pal. We were mooching along, we were having a great time. And then the same thing happened, and that was more painful than the first time, you know what I mean? That was brutal. But, that's a really long answer. I'm going back in January. This time I'm wearing shin guards, and I'm walking from start to finish. I'm just getting to the end.
Does that mean that half of the ultramarathon community is like, who's this pussy running with shin guards?
I don't know, man. Like, maybe it's something I've just been
missing. But hang on, you just said something where you haven't slept in 3 days. Right, so what's the longest race you've done? Length or time?
So the furthest and longest I've spent on my feet was when we did Cape Wrath. It should be the spine if I'd finished it, but Cape Wrath at the moment, it was 240 miles, and it took us. So my pal who was doing it, he just likes nice round numbers. And he's like, right, let's go for... The record was 4 days and 9 hours and 46 minutes. And he's like, let's just go for 4 days. So that was the target we gave ourselves. And I think we came in 95 hours, 46 minutes and 15 seconds.
Okay, I mean, that's well below.
Aye. Right, but aye,
that's just below 4 days.
Aye. We were 15 minutes off 4 days, aye.
15 minutes off?
Aye, we were 15 minutes below. We were in by 15 minutes.
Okay. And in these 4 days, how many times, like, what's the amount of time you're resting?
I think in total, we slept for 2.5 hours. Aye. We had like 4 30-minute naps in the van, and then there was 2 occasions where we just, it got a wee bit warmer and it was during the day, and this was towards like the second last day or the last day. It's hard to keep everything in chronological order
when you haven't slept and your brain's mumble. Yeah.
But there was twice we're just like, I really need to sleep, and we just kind of literally stopped and went onto the side of the trail and just slept. The first time it was just lying in grass, but the second time we didn't even plan it. It was like we were on a cliff in an area, the west of the Highlands of Scotland. It's called Knoydart, right? So it's like, Knoydart is the most remote, inaccessible area in Britain. It's brutal. Beautiful, but brutal. And you actually need to get like a boat, like you can't drive there or anything. You need to get like a boat run and stuff. And we were on like this cliff bit on this peninsula thing in Knoydart. And we just, I think we stopped. We'll read the guidebook to see what's going to happen to the next section. So like my pal, he jumped the cliff and he lay down, and like I sat down and I was like, I'm just staring at this page, and I was like, I can't read. I've lost the ability to read. I could see the lines, I just couldn't read anymore. And then I was like, I don't know how much time had passed, but I went to say something, and he's just like, he's sleeping on a cliff, and I'm like, just threw the book and just went to sleep. And like, I don't know, I think we must have slept for about 10 minutes or something, 15 minutes on this cliff. But it was one of the most, is it the right word? Aye. It's probably the most beautiful sleep I've ever had in my entire life. Little bit sketchy, maybe borderline dangerous, but it was amazing. That was the most amazing 15 minutes I've ever had to sleep in my life. But to answer your question, I think we must have been about 2.5 hours in total or something, which is, again, probably actually sounds like I'm making that up, but like in the world I live in, it's normal. In fact, I'll give you a great example, right, to give you context. Literally just finished a couple of days ago, they do a race. It's Backyard Ultra, right? And it sounds dead easy. You do 4 miles every hour on the hour. So we're like 3 minutes to go to the hour, 3 whistles, 2 whistles, 1 whistle, and by the hour you need to be in what's called the start corral, and you go again and you do another 4 miles. So that's like over the hour you're averaging 15-minute miles, right? I mean, that's a brisk walk, doddle. However, they started the Big's backyard. That is like the world championship. It's like as big as it gets, and it's they basically have like leagues and different national championships all lead up to go, all the winners to go to this, and it's like the World Cup of backyard ultra run. So they started 12 o'clock on Saturday, and I think they did that for 108 hours. So on the hour, every hour they did 4 miles. Now, if you want to eat, you want to change your trainers, you want to sleep, you then need to run. So these guys literally ran, to a varying degree, for 108 hours. So like four and a half days or something, something like that. And that broke the world record. But there was like, I think there was 6 people went through the 100 hour mark, which is 400 miles. So like, it gives you context, like the kind of the circles I move in, the world I live in. That it sounds insane and it actually sounds fanciful, but it's kind of no normal.
I mean,
but
I have so many questions, man. I mean, so I take it you're I was gonna say, like, sounds a bit more difficult than Tough Mudder.
Funny you should mention that. That's actually, and it's a bit of a cliche, that's actually like the first thing I ever did. That's what got me into running.
While I was listening to the interview you did.
Oh, right, okay, did I talk about that? Aye. That's the first thing I ever did. Like, and like we saw this on the internet, and like we saw.
Yeah, I've been kind of looking at it because I like pushing myself.
That looks mad, man. That
Yeah.
looks insane. And we spent months and months getting ready for Tough Mudder. I mean, months, like insane amount of training to get ready for running like 13 miles in the mud and doing some monkey bars and stuff. And that is not to be a prick and take away for anybody who's put in a big shift to get themselves ready, and it's a big thing.
But there's like,
in context,
it's a vision stand up. I'm like, I did the stand. It was so hard. Like Bridget's like, I was doing the hydro the other week.
It's like, levels in it. It's just levels in it.
It's the most difficult thing I've done. But
for me to look back now, for me it's kind of like, you may have. But then at the time, like I did kind of, I wouldn't say I found it difficult, but it was a big deal for me at the time. But now I look back and I kind of, it doesn't seem like such a big deal.
That is mad though, man. Like, I mean, I'm in love with it because I feel like there's so much you would learn about yourself.
Well, that's like, see the whole ultra running thing, like, I don't think you get it as much for like the shorter stuff, and by shorter stuff I mean like marathon and anything under, because it's very clinical, it's basically just based in maths, and your training is very repetitive, whereas like trail running and ultra running and mountain races, it's for me, it's like a very, I don't want to sound kooky here, but it's like a kind of spiritual thing, you know what I mean? Because you start off running, right, and you do what everybody does, and like, I'm going to take up running, and like during your lunch break at work or something, you go and run like down by Asda car park and then up onto the bypass, and then you come down through a house in the state back to your work. And you did.
Why are you running on the bypass though?
It's better than the motorway. But just whatever. You get the idea. You basically You're running this urban area.
Yeah.
And like you don't know anything about running. You're wearing all the wrong gear. You've no ate properly. You're no hydrated, and you don't know how fast or how slow to go. And you do that for about 2 weeks. And the one thing you learn is that you fucking hate running, right? And running shit. And if you're doing that, running is shit. But if you're lucky, like you either, for me it was like purely by chance, or you end up kind of hanging about with somebody who takes you out on a hill one day, or takes you through a wood one day, or like, I don't know, like up the West Highland Way, and even if you do like 3 or 4 miles or something like that, there just gets this point, and even if the weather's terrible and it's pissing down or snow or cold or whatever, there gets this point you're just out in nature and you're exposed and you're vulnerable, but it's, you know what I mean, it's just this whole spiritual thing.
It does sound beautiful. I'm not going to lie, I'm a bit amazing, attracted by it.
But if you spend the time doing that, you need to go through, it's very much like stand up, right? You need to go through that period of time of becoming a comedian. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
like how long did it take to become a comedian? Like, properly become a comedian? You're talking like years, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're talking. Everybody starts in different places and stuff, because you might have the information already, or you might be in that circle, but you learn some of the basics early on. So everybody does it at a different pace. Like, I've done a good solid years of, like, was it 8 years of acting training, where I was hyper focused on acting. I did a bit of stand up. I was hyper focused on acting and getting good at that. And after that, I started doing stand-ups. I've been doing it seriously for coming up to 2 years in January, February actually. But so, like, to become a pro, I say anywhere from 5 to 10 years.
Aye, and
Become a pro, long-term pro. Like,
you need to become, didn't you? You need to go through that become phase, and like, and that's kind of running's exactly
trial and
the
error.
same. But see that, imagine like you went to, I don't know, you went to an open mic night, right? You didn't know anybody there. And like you thought, and this is actually, I'm actually now telling the story of my first 5 minutes. You thought you had an idea of what it was, and you just go there and you go, and it's horrendous, and it's just absolutely terrible. And then just in your brain, you're like, oh, stand-up's crap, I hate it.
Yeah, there's a part of you that's always going to say that, because it's...
But to enjoy it, you need to go through that phase to become, you know what I mean? You even need to become a semi-competent open act to enjoy being an open act, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And running's exactly the same. Like if you get that first hilly, traily, muddy run, and just you get that wee bug and it kind of bites you, you then need to go through this period of time that you need to become a runner, right? It infects every single little bit of your life, man. It seeps into everything. But see, once you get that's a sweet spot. See, once you get to the point that you've become a runner, and you can then go out and you can spend like 3 hours or 4 hours running up along the West Highland Way and then up round Ben Lomond and then maybe back again, and you spend like 4 hours on your own, just in nature, and you've got all this time. You've got nothing but time and miles, and like, but you're no dying. It's no killing you. You've got all the right gear. You're prepared. You're hydrated. You're fueled. Your body's conditioned to it. All the things that put you off to start with when you're running around that shitty Houston estate for that first 3 miles a day, and you think, I hate this is crap, they all melt away. So then, like, that first hour at every run, especially your long runs in particular, you basically just you take your head for a shite. So all the crap that went on in your week, anything that's stressing you, anything that's bothering you, you take your head for a shite. And then once you've did that head shit, like, you've got like the next maybe hour or 2 hours are just like this space in your brain, and that's where the spiritual bit comes, you know what I mean? Like,
it's just you and the breathing.
There's like a saying, if you can't figure it out in the long run, there's no answer, you know what I mean? Like, you just can't do it, man. And it's just wonderful. And like the amount of times, like, I'll go out on a run and I've had a really shit week, and like you come back and you just get the answer to all these questions, and you actually start to get perspective on problems and way you've acted and stuff you've said and situations you're in. The amount of times I've kind of like, I even like, I don't know, like if I've had an argument with my wife, right, and like you're like, fucking, I'm right, she's wrong, I'm right, and you go for like a run, and then you come back in like a few hours later, and like the first words you say when you walk in the door is like, oh, I'm sorry, I was out of order, because you've just got that space in your brain, you know what I mean? You can see it.
Okay, now I understand why my wife's like, yeah, go for a run. You know what, Graham?
Oh, there's so many times I walk in the door and she's like, have you ran today? Fuck off. Aye, it's wonderful, man. But again, it's like anything, man. You've got to do your apprenticeship. You've got to pay your dues. You've got to become a runner. You know.
Yeah.
And once you do it, I swear to God, like the dividends are worth all that time and effort. You know what I mean? Because like you say, it's a really, really spiritual thing, man. It's wonderful, man. It's wonderful.
What is I have to, and I'm just like, I'm just fucking listening. Right, what is the wildest sort of race that you know of, or you've, like, well, I'm guessing even in ultra marathons, like, people come up with weird ways to make it more difficult, like running in the cold and running in the heat.
See the backyard one? This is the easiest answer on the planet. Like, so see the backyard, it's like the creation of this guy, and he is like a legend in the sport. His name's Lazarus. His name's Gary Cantrell, right? But he was called Lazarus Lake. And he, I don't know if you ever
My guy's got a running name.
I don't know where it came from. Like, everybody associated with his races has kind of got like crazy nicknames.
Famously, was brought back to life by Jesus.
I'm not, but that would see that this is the thing with Laz. Like, that would be the obvious answer, but there probably wouldn't be. It's probably not the obvious answer.
Right? Okay. So he's one of these mysterious.
Oh man, this guy is the original onion, man. There's layers to everything. Right? He's like the original onion. But so he's like, him and his buddies, right? They're in like Tennessee. And there's like this Frozen Head National Park, and there was like a big state penitentiary, a big jail in it. And I don't know what year it was, but there was like, I think it was the guy that shot Reagan? I don't know.
There was someone who...
guy that shot somebody famous in America. And he was in this prison, and he escaped. And the guy was escaped for like, was it 50 hours or 60 hours or something? And so he had 60 hours through Frozen Head State Park, and then they found him. And I think he was like 8 miles away. And they were like, how can you only get 8 miles in 60 hours? And like, this is just like classic Laz, the way this guy thinks. Nah, he's just like, let's put a race on. Let's put a route on, and people need to run around Frozen Head State Park, and we'll pick the most difficult route we can find, and we'll just see who can do it. And it just evolved over like years and years and years. And there was like a Netflix documentary that made it really famous and brought everything to light. It was the race, Barkley Marathons, the race that eats its young. And it's evolved into this thing now, right? So I can't enter the Barkley Marathons because I don't know how. So to enter the Barkley Marathons, I need to figure out how to enter the Barkley Marathons.
Go on.
I just need to figure it out.
But like, what is it?
I don't know. Some people figure it out. Some people don't.
But like, what's the challenge about entering a marathon?
But it's not a marathon. This is Laz, right? It's not a marathon. Okay, tell me. You need to apply on a certain day by writing a letter to Laz to an address, and he needs to get it on that day or something. Something like that, right? And then he goes through all these letters, and then he'll pick 40 people, right? So every year, 40 people get a condolence letter back saying, condolences.
You've entered.
You've been selected to run the Barkley Marathons. And then there's like this, I really hope you have got the wisdom not to take the place. You will fail. And the whole thing is basically based on, and it's a lot of Laz's stuff is like this, it's all based on seeing how far humans can go, what humans are capable, and that's the whole basis of the backyard thing, right? It's like, how far can a human being keep going until they cannot go anywhere? And it turns out at the moment it's 108 hours, 440 miles or some crazy thing.
Is that the longest someone's run?
That weekend there, guy Harvey Lewis, was it? Harvey Lewis, that's his name. He won it, 108. That's like the backyard record. So that's the longest a human being's, well, as
that
records go, has ran for 100 metres. So then you get your spot. So then you get into like a super secret squirrel group, and you get a date to go to Frozen Head State Park, and you give Laz a registration plate for a car. And if it's your first time, you also give him, is it fags? You give him cigarettes. However many, sometimes you give him a white shirt, sometimes you give him juice, you give him cigarettes. It's mad. Typical Laz shit. On the race costs £1.68 or $1.68 to ride. It's like just bonkers. But anyway, you get to the park, and then it's the Friday night, and you register, but you don't know what the route is. So the route changes every year. So you'll get a map, and then it'll give you it'll give you like a map around the park, and it's 26 miles a marathon. But it's not. It can be any distance. You don't know what the distance is, and it gives you clues. So you then need to run around this route that he's went around the park that he's made as difficult as possible, and you need to find books. You need to find 13 books, 14 books. It kind of changes, And if you're number 96, you need to pull out the 96th page on that book to prove that you've been to that point of the park. So then you come back after doing your first loop. Oh, and you don't know when the race is going to start. The race can start from Saturday midnight until... No, is it Friday? Saturday midnight until... Saturday midnight until 12 o'clock Saturday. And you find that he's got like this big shell that he blows. So you hear the shell getting blown, and that means you get an hour to go. When you get an hour to go, you go and get your watch, because you can't have any kind of stuff that tells you where you're going. You go and get a watch that's like the cheapest crap. 1 year he went and gave people pocket watches, just lads. And so then you start, and he starts the race by lighting a fac. So you go and find your 13, 14 pages, however many it is, and you go in, and you need to give him the 13 or 14 pages, and if you don't have all your pages, then that's you, it doesn't count. So that's like the first loop, which is 26 miles, or 20 miles he calls it, because it's meant to be a 100-mile race, but it's not. And then...
So it's just like, not only, this is like specifically set up to mindfuck you.
Oh! Every single aspect of it, everything is designed
to fuck with
to
your
make
willpower.
it more difficult. To just mess your
Not
head.
even more difficult, just sometimes it's just even like, just to make you go, what?
What
like,
the fuck?
It's confusing.
What the fuck? But then, so you've got 60 hours to do 5 loops. So you do the first loop, and then the second loop might be in the same direction. And by this point, you've now been up for about over a day. And then you might do a loop in a different direction, and like this is like some serious heavy navigation and storms in the night, because he does it kind of around about March, April time, and the weather over there's pretty rough then in the park. And so you then need to do this like 5 loops, which gives you a finish, or you can do 3 loops, which is a fun run. Or you can do like 1 loop, which probably like quite a lot of people do, just do 1 loop, and they usually fail on the second. But even in that, right, this is it. I'd never realised this before, but it's designed that way as well, to psychologically try and get people to quit. Because what happens is, like, you go to Barkley and you get a Barkley loop done. So you've done a loop at Barkley, so you've then got something. So see, when you're knackered, right, and it's the weather's brutal and you're just in agony, because like you get cut to shreds and stuff with all these crazy bushes and that you need to get through, and it's like really remote. So then you've got your Barkley loop, ain't you? So like your brain's like, I've got something, I can quit. So then but you don't, and you go out and you do the second loop. But the second loop, you don't get anything. It's not worth the fuck, is it? Right? So you either quit in the second loop, which a lot of people do, or you manage to get into the third loop. So then the third loop classes as a fun run. So then again, you've got something. But then when you get in the fourth loop's not worth it. So like after your third loop, it's dead easy to say to yourself, well, I've got a fun run, I can just quit now. And even that is designed to just mess with your head and try and get you quit. So what's the most insane, crazy race out there? It's got to be the Barkley Marathons. It's got to be. It's got to be, man. It is mental. I was lucky enough that I got to go twice. So like the same guy I did Cape Wrathway, he managed to get into Barkley. This is a crazy thing, man. Like a friend of mine was in Barkley, and I didn't even ask him how he entered, and he never told me. And it's just that there's so much secret and shrouded in Barkley, and you need to earn it, and it's mad. And it's just, I don't know, it's just normal. It's like the whole Barkley thing. But like I was lucky enough I got to go twice, but they do in September each year, they do like a race for regular people, and it's called the Barkley Fall Classic, and I was actually there last month, September.
Oh yeah, I saw you.
I did the Barkley Fall Classic, and you get to run round the park. It's not the Barkley Loop, but you get to run around the park, and you get to do like Rat Jaw, which is like a bit of a kind of highlight of the race, and we got to do like another couple of the kind of race hills that are off the beaten track, and you get to go through the prison and under the prison and through the water and all that.
While you're running.
Aye. But it's only one loop. It's like, I think we did about 35 miles or something. That was pretty cool, man. That was pretty cool. In fact, I enjoyed it so much that the race entry opened like the week after we get back, and me and my pal who were in it, like, we just joined straight back up. And
I feel like you could do a really badass film where it's like you're doing this Barkley Marathon thing, and there's a serial killer trying to kill one of the racers one at a time, and he's also one of the runners.
Oh, they don't need to, man. Like the park does that for you, honestly, man. Like,
but I feel like it would be a really cool setup for like a horror film. Something very different.
I'm actually surprised the horror genre's not picked up on the whole. There's
running,
endurance running, because that would be quite spooky as well, isn't it? Like you're out in these remote trails and stuff like that, and somebody
that too. I mean,
starts killing runners.
There's the other thing. I was like, there's got to be something with delivery drivers, man. If we're just talking horrors, like I feel like it's the perfect horror genre. Of like you just like a serial killer being like a sort of delivery driver, or you being a delivery driver being chased by a serial killer. There's got to be something. I've got a bunch of ideas, so I need to do something with that. But yeah.
But then a delivery driver, man, like, would that not be dead easy to figure out?
But cyclists. I'm thinking on the bicycles.
But then, like, see if, like, I don't know, like somebody had been murdered and they had like a McDonald's sat there at the door and it was still lukewarm, and then you had like another murder like a mile and a half away.
For me, it was more like
a Pizza Hut.
For me, the idea is that the delivery driver is being hunted by the serial killer. They turn up with the delivery and they're being hunted by a serial killer. So now it's like fucking cat and mouse chase on a bicycle.
That'd be harder to track down. I thought the delivery one.
Because there's been things like that done already along similar veins of like, you know, career being chased or getting involved in something. But I feel like, I would quite enjoy that.
The only thing that would let you down with the ultra running thing is about halfway through a race, like half the ultra runners would be like, please just kill me.
It's just like the guy's coming up to like, I'm gonna kill you. He's like, thank you for the sweet release.
My prayers have been answered. I've been begging to die for 3 years. It does fucking get like that sometimes.
So I want to ask about the mind games though. So like, because you've done mad races, right? So you're doing what you said you did. You ran for 4 days. You did 2 hours of sleep, 2.5 hours.
Aye.
What does that do to your psyche? Like
that was actually one of the easier races after. It wasn't a race.
Let's look at the ones of like
that one was actually quite easy to do because
I'm just keeping an eye not to move the camera by accident.
I did because I did that one with somebody else and it wasn't a race. There's like
You're just running for fun?
We literally did just. I know it sounds mental, but we literally did just choose to do that for fun. So there's actually, with the exception of time we gave ourselves like the 96 hours and we wanted to like set the FKT. That one was just really fun and like there was like we had a van, a couple of my pals in it, and then like every 8, 9, 10 hours, or however long each section took you. You would then see them and you'd jump in, make some soup, you'd have a wrap, and it was actually a lot of fun in a weird sort of way. We did other stuff like that, like we ran the West Highland Way up and down and tried to do it in like 24 hours, and we did like, what was the Scottish National Trail, it's like the top left hand corner of Scotland all the way down to the bottom right, but it's all trails and all hills and stuff. And then actually like the really fun stuff, the stuff that's difficult and the stuff that's hard, like mentally, is like the races when you're on your own and you're having a hard time. It's actually more difficult. Like one of the most difficult races I've probably did was probably one of the shorter ones, and it was like 53 miles or something, and like literally everything that could have went wrong. Like it was brutal. Yeah, I think I'm still suffering with like some sort of trauma for it, man. It was like horrendous. Like I was 17 minutes. There's like this cliche, right? Never try anything new on race day. But I'd been away with work for months, and I just kind of wanted to know, like, can I go away with work and can I train to get and still be in the point that I can run an ultra marathon? And so there was like this race, and it ended up it was like 6 days after I got back. And like,
so you're not training for this?
I had been training, but on a treadmill.
Right.
Normally you'd be out on trails and hills and you'd conditioning yourself to the conditions you're running on, but I was just on a treadmill and doing like shuttle sprints for like months and months. And I came back and like, but while I was away, like all these new kind of fueling strategy kind of stuff had come out with all these like drinks and electrolytes and all these kind of foods and stuff. But like my brother's like, listen, we've been using all this tailwind stuff and all this, and it's brilliant, and I've got you up some drop bags and all, because I never had time to organise any of this. I was like, right, cool, man. So here's me running along as a wee cliche with all this new stuff on race day, and I got to just before Bamaha in the West Highland Way, and I was like, I've not drank anything. And I just grabbed this flask and I sank it all down because I knew I was behind in my hydration. And almost right away, man, like I just felt my stomach go like, I don't like that. And that was it, man. It just snowballed for there. But I got to Bamaha, but maybe 20 minutes later, and I'd done the toilet. I'm trying to be dead polite, right? I fucking pissed shite out my arse. It was brutal. It was horrendous, man. And I was like, oh my God, that's horrendous. So like, I then like got myself all sorted out and I got all my stuff and I was like, right, well, thank God that's done. And then I was like, oh fuck, I need to go again. So by this time I got to like this public toilet and like I was fucking exact same thing. And I was like, right, I need to get going, I'm falling too far behind here. Because you're always looking at the clock, aren't you? And long story short, for the next 14, no, actually probably longer than that, for like the next 20 miles, for about the next 20 miles, I literally had to shit every 20 to 25 minutes. And I mean like that stomach cramp kind of like, it was horrendous. My stomach, see when your stomach flips and then you're like running loads and you've basically drawn all the blood away for it, and it just, there's no getting it back and it just gets worse and worse. But like I was so determined to try and finish this race, but because I wasn't taking any fuel on, everything all started to cramp and get sore. So I was like, every 20 minutes I had to stop and then I had to crouch down to like just
unload.
Just whatever was coming out of me by this point. But then with crouching down, that was like making my quads like proper cramp. And I don't mean like, oh, I've got a cramp. I mean like somebody stabbed you with glass. Ultra cramp's different, right? It's like brutal. Because you don't stop. You just keep it, it gets worse and worse and worse to the point it just can't get any worse. And so then you're getting like these mad cramps. So I was then spending about 10 minutes trying to like just run it out and just trying to get my body moving again. And then 10, 15 minutes later, I had to stop again, do the toilet, the cramps come back. Oh, it was horrendous, absolutely horrendous. And that went on for hours and hours. I remember I got to the 26 mile mark, right? So I'm roughly about halfway, and I'm like, I'm hugging a tree to hold me up, and I'm literally sweating, my stomach's cramping, my legs are in agony, and there's like people flying by me like, you alright, are you alright? I was like, I'm fine. I'm about closest to crying I've been as an adult, right, in my entire life. And I was sitting thinking, and it dawned on me how absurd the World Ultra Running was, because I'm sitting thinking like, in my head I'm telling myself, you've only got another marathon to run and then you've got this in the bag. But there's another part of my brain going like, if this was like 7:45 on a Monday morning, you'd take the week off work if you felt this bad. It's crazy, man, like the two parts of your brain collide. But like I got to about the last 15 miles or whatever it was, and like I ended up hiding off the trail on this rock, and I actually ended up on all fours down the toilet, and what came out of me was just evil. It was like I gave birth to this black, oily, I don't know what it was. Like to this day, I'm not sure if I maybe lost like a wee bit of an organ or something. I don't know. I'd done it all fours, and like I could see down, and that was the only position I could then go by that point. My legs were so bad. But whatever left me was good, because it just turned a corner, and then I could start actually eating and drinking stuff again. And I got to do the last 12 miles of the race. Agony. Absolutely agony, man. Just totally depleted, hydration, electrolytes, fuel, whatever. But I was moving again. And what you need to do is, like, see whenever it gets tough and, like, whenever you're struggling, like, you start off with, like, an A goal. And, like, a lot of people, they kind of... And this is, I don't know, this is, like, life, not just running, right? You start off with your A goal, and a lot of people, like, something happens that their A goal's not going to be achievable, so they just fuck off, don't they? They're like, fuck, I can't do it, there's no point, it's so terrible. But then, like, if you can just keep, like, that perspective and that context, and you're like, right, okay, this is my situation, just fucking accept it, find a B goal, and get motivated.
Recalibrate, yeah.
That's it, just recalibrate, man.
No, I'm a big believer. I think a lot of people, there's a mindset of like, if you're gonna do something, do it properly, or if you gotta be the winner, you gotta reach your goal, whatnot. And that's good to some extent, but life throws shit at you, sometimes literally, right?
Or you throw shit at life.
And if you actually, and I basically am a big believer now of like, you know what? I count every single thing. Like, if it's more than 0, it's a win. Even I count the effort as a win.
Aye.
Like, so I look at it like every single step I take, that's one win after another win after another win, because it's more than nothing, right?
Aye, that's ultra wisdom there, man. That's
and
it.
If you look at it that way, it's a lot easier to keep going, and you kind of go, well, I can either say I tried to reach this big goal and I failed, or I can say I tried to reach this big goal, but I got really I got the closest to it as I possibly could.
Aye. Progress.
Aye, like it's just, you count those little fucking...
It's the inches that make the miles, isn't it? It's the inches that make the miles. But that, it's kind of like... It's kind of weird, man, because like the whole stand-up comedy life running thing, like all the lessons are like interchangeable, innit?
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna ask, see, because for actors and comedians, there's always the wisdom that says that, you know, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. I was like, is it a marathon though? You've done a lot of them.
Aye, well, it is, aye. And I've actually
it's a psychological marathon, isn't it?
I've spoke to other comedians about this, actually. Like, I remember, like, I don't know, man, I don't know if I was like coming out my lane or if I was like overreaching or something like that. But like, I remember, I hadn't been going long, and I remember like I did a couple of gigs for the Glasgow International Comedy Festival.
Yeah.
And like, for me, like, it was dead important, like then stand-up doesn't become like running or like cage fighting or like boxing or like all these other things that I've kind of thrown myself into, and they just become like another part-time job. Like, and I kind of thought, like, right, if you don't want that to happen, you need to not have a goal. What you need to do is this is just a pure journey thing, pure enjoyment. Because like I've done that in other things, and like, and a lot of the times for me now, like running now is a way of life. Sometimes it's no enjoyable. I started off because I loved it, but now sometimes it's just like it's no enjoyable at all. And it was dead important to me to keep that for stand up. But like, I remember during the Glasgow International Comedy Festival, I was doing like a couple of gigs, and like I did one. I drove through to Edinburgh, and I did a gig in Edinburgh. And this was the first and only time I've ever done it. I'll never do it again. I went to Edinburgh, done a gig there, and then I raced through to Glasgow, and I done a gig there, and it was quite stressful, and I was like, geez, oh man, I was like, this isn't really fun. This isn't what I signed up for. This isn't fun. And then I was like, I was doing this gig, and it was about 10 o'clock. And a Friday, Saturday night, whatever it was Saturday night actually. And I was doing it with other comedians, and like they came in and we were sat in a wee bit, and like I looked at them, man, I was like, fuck, I was like, you alright? Like, 5th gig the day. And I'm like, fuck, 5th gig the day. And that, it was kind of like that, it was like they had the goal, and they were just hammering it and hammering it and hammering it. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I couldn't help myself. You know, like, people are so quick to give advice, right? Not knowing people with no context of the situation.
Yeah.
No, I don't even know anything about stand-up comedy with no experience of what they're talking about. People are just so easy to dole advice.
But you wanted to help as well.
Aye, but like when
just
you...
words of encouragement.
When you get that situation when people are driving really, really hard, and they're maybe even possibly taking the fun out of it a bit for themselves, you're like, that's like short term, man. That's like, you know what I mean? And it's kind of like, do you want to be doing this at a decent level in 4 years' time, or do you want to smash this for 6 months and hate it? You know what I mean? And I don't know, man. I think that's important. I'm not really sure where I fucking started off, man, with this thing.
I know we're talking about comedy being like a marathon.
Aye, well that's it, aye. And I think, aye, that's how we get into it, man. That's how we get into it. I think, no.
I don't know if comedy's a marathon, but more like comedy career. I feel like if you want to have a career in it, you have to look at it as like a long-term thing where you're gonna...
I think
there's going to be good bits and there's going to be bad bits, but the good bits most of the time outweigh the bad bits.
I think anything at all. If you want to be good at anything at all, to any decent standard, like if you're quite young, you probably need the advice, or if you've done a few things before, you need the wisdom that, like, anything at all it's not going to be a switch. It's going to be like a journey, innit? Like, if you ever saw that wee drawing, it's like A, B, perception, the line, and then it's like reality.
Yeah, and just
you know what I mean?
And we were talking about this yesterday with Sean, but basically, sometimes you know where you want to get to, but you don't know what the journey is going to be, and sometimes you don't even know what's the next. Like, you can't even see which way you're supposed to go. You're just lost in this big fucking haze, this big fog of, you're like, I know where I want to get to, but I don't even know what direction I'm supposed to be going in to get there, you know?
But that's the kind of, like, it's kind of Ryan Holiday type, kind of stoicy type stuff, and I think it's important, like, and it's what you went and says there, man, like, an inch is an inch, and that's fine, man. Anything over 0 is brilliant. But, like, even if you can take that further, man, and, like, see if you, like, do something and it's an absolute bag of shit and an absolute car crash, at least you've learned what not to do. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
absolutely. Like,
learning how to fuck stuff up is just as important as learning. Probably more important than learning how to do stuff.
I agree. It's just as important. We're all positive. We're motivated by positive sort of experience and positive sort of emotional feedback.
Aye.
But a lot of the time we ignore the negative because we don't want to think about it. But that is just as valuable, because think about it. If you're just chucking, trying to throw stuff at the dartboard, let's say, and in a pitch black room, and just trying to figure out, where you're landing, where's this shit landing. Like, if you want to find the middle, you got to throw here, that didn't land, I'm going to try here, that doesn't land. And then you start slowly getting closer to the center. You can't just be like, I'm just going to try and throw it to the center all the time. You got to just, it comes back to, it's a fucking experiment.
That's it, man.
And it's all feedback.
But see, if you've not got like that, if you've not got that foresight, and then you just hit the first couple of hurdles, and you're just like, oh.
I think it's our egos come into it massively, which is we're taught to sort of only feel proud of the effort we've put in if there's a positive result.
So mums and dads, innit, man? Like, what was the book I was reading?
But it was like, their mums and dads before it,
I don't give them excuse, they're arseholes, a lot of them. But what was the book I was reading, man? It's like the kid comes in with the picture, and it's like a good picture, and they're like, oh my God, you drew such a good picture, I love that drawing, and then they stick it up in the fridge, and the kid's like, oh, I'm only loved if I do something good.
But I think that's part of us as well. It's a natural sort of obvious conclusion to draw as a child of, like, if I get positive feedback when I do good things, or if I achieve good results, and I get nothing when I try really hard but don't achieve anything major, then you're gonna be like, well, that doesn't really count, does it?
That's bugging me, but is it a black box thing or something? I don't know, man. But I think I've got 3 kids, man. So like I get that vibe, man, and like, me and the wife, like, we try and kind of hammer in on the, like, did you work hard? Like, is that?
Did you try your best?
That kind of jazz, and like, but then as well, like, any time like something's like they come up short or something like, it's like, well, what did you learn and stuff? And that's one of the big things I took for running, and it's like, even if you mess it up, like that race I did, like the fling, right? It's like it was traumatic. It was literally traumatic. It was fucking physically and mentally and emotionally traumatic. It took me like 11 hours and 30 minutes or something like that. And I went back about 2 or 3 years later, and I ran that race.
And we're like, there's that rock.
I can't run by it now without being like, I still think it's up there, man, just haunting the West Island Way. It's wee black slimy heat pops up now and again.
You gave birth to your radioactive turd.
Honestly, man, it was like that monstrous smoky monster that came out in Game of Thrones, man. It was something like, the Red Ladies, baby, whatever it was, man, where he killed somebody.
Just imagine your head pops out, like, you alright?
You alright, man?
You might have just given birth to your dark side, like,
it was brutal.
classic Stephen King shit.
Maybe that's what it is, man. Maybe it was just like the whole arsehole part of my personality just ejecting from my body, man. But I went back to that race like 3 years later or something like that, and I was like, a benchmark time for that race is like 8 hours, and I was like, right, I'm not going to race it. I want an 8 hour fling, and I ran it 7 hours 58 minutes or something like that, and it was perfect. It's the best performance I've ever had in a race. It was just clockwork. Everything I had today, I hit all the targets. It was brilliant. It was tough. It was difficult. Like, I literally stopped and I couldn't walk after it, but I banged everything. But it was after it, I kind of realised, like, it was great and I was happy. I'd ticked the box, but I'd learned nothing. See, for long term, like, it was useless. It was just nice to say there was nothing. But that first time, like, I could sit here and just tell you, like, you probably wouldn't know what I'm talking about for half of them. It's all kind of in-depth fucking running and nutrition pish and all that. But I learned so much for that total car crash the first time. The second time, I learned fuck all. It went well, but I learned fuck all.
You have learned something, though. You've learned that the system works.
Aye.
If you learn that if I do all this and I fuck up enough, then every now and again to get a perfect one. Or
that's
I don't like the word perfect because I used to be someone who's very sort of perfect, you know, and it's very alluring. I like to use the word ideal. I'm not someone who like bans words of like, you say whatever you want to say, but to me the word perfect is very alluring. It can easily make me sort of lose track of the actual process that goes into it. So not kind of say ideal, because we all know we don't live in an ideal world, but that's what it is. It's the ideal projection of what this thing should be.
I think you're setting yourself up for a fall the next time as well, innit?
Aye.
You know, perfect then becomes your benchmark and you're a bit fucked then, aren't you?
You are, because that's not realistic. Again, we don't live in anywhere near a perfect world. Like,
aye. You got to learn for the imperfections, haven't you?
Yeah, and you kind of like, that was one of the big lessons of like, there's so much happening in the world at the same time. Why would anything ever be perfect? Like, there's so many moving parts, you know, doing their own thing, as well as me trying to do my thing. Most realistically, I can just try to work with it as well as I can. And every now and again be like, cool, I got there. Yay, fucking enjoy that win.
Have you did like Ryan Holiday's Stoicism type books and all that?
No, I've learned this the hard way.
You've got a lot of the vibe there, man. Like, don't buy them on fucking Amazon or whatever the fuck it is, man. You're wasting your money. You've got it. Don't worry. Ryan Holiday's like this Stoicism rock star, man, and like a lot of the stuff like he kind of teaches and writes about, it's kind of like a lot of the principles you kind of learn the hard way in ultra running. But just when you were talking there, man, it just like, I'd recommend them to anybody.
I mean, it's good to, it's kind of positive feedback for me to know that, okay, this is what people are learning. It means that I'm not completely full of shit.
Oh, there's a guy who's a multi-millionaire out there. He's got like 8 books or something like that, man, and he's basically spitting out your shit and making a fortune for it, man. Like,
I just for me it was mental health. Actually, we talked about that a wee bit, but for me, I realized I was very much in love with the sort of what the perfect life should look like. Because I heard so much growing up of like, if you've got to do something, do it right. If you've got to do something, do it right. I kind of made that my life goal. Of like, I'm going to live my life the right way. As if there's a right way to live a life. And then my grandma passed away while I was here. And I was like, I had the holiday booked to go see her. She had cancer, but it was like they just found a tumor. I was like, oh, she'll be fine. She's got fucking maybe a year, 2 years to live. She was gone in 5 months.
Quick.
She was gone in 5 months, right? And I literally missed seeing her by like a week and a half, 2 weeks.
That's tight.
It's tight.
That's tight.
And it just fucking broke me, man. Like I was for 1 year, I left my job. I had to go work in a different place because I just couldn't handle it. I would literally it was like I could feel something break in my head with just numbness all over and just tightness. And it's like my brain was cramping up.
What age were you?
I was 21.
Right, young man, young.
Yeah, I was 21, yeah.
It's hard when you're younger as well.
I'm by myself.
Experience of the wisdom of that, man. It's hard, isn't it?
Yeah, and it was just, and it took, I've mostly recovered from it. I still get flashes of guilt and shame and all that kind of stuff. But I've dealt with the sort of very physical, very violent symptoms of just fucking, what the fuck? You know? But yeah, so that was like me learning, like, take a step back. It's not all or nothing. It's never all or nothing.
It's kind of, do you know, just when you're talking there, like, it kind of, it harks me back to what you were saying earlier on, man. But like, even with like the mental health breakdowns, and there might be people right now who are kind of struggling with mental health, and they might see this and they're like, stop fucking sprinkling fucking glitter out as though it's a good thing. But like, I had like a bad patch in 2015, and like I hit fucking as low as you could go, man. I came as close to the edge as you can get with it, going over the edge. But in hindsight, it's the exact same thing, man. Like, see when you get that low and you've got nowhere else to go, like, you've got no other choice. Well, you do have a choice. You're either you don't be here anymore, or you just find another way, you learn another way. And that's actually where a lot of the insight and the learning and the knowledge comes. And it's a fucking horrendous, terrible, horrible experience.
Yeah, I mean, I would rather learn this out of a book if I could.
That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I was lucky, like, looking back now, because I had one specific episode, which haven't talked about it too much, but basically, so this is like 2 months after my grand's passed away. I'm depressed. Nothing makes sense. But there's been history of this in my family, so I kind of knew of, like, when you feel like this, do not act on it. Like, nothing makes sense. You're fucking like, why am I doing this? Why am I staying alive?
It's not real.
But just don't act on it, even if you can't see through the fog, right? I'm in this kitchen, right? I'm at the lowest point of my life. Nothing makes sense. I got a knife in my hand. And I just had this urge, which I don't think a lot of people understand about mental health, of, like, my whole body was just going, like, just end it. Just the relief, and it's the metaphor I use is when, I have the last slice of pizza. And he heard all of this before, so don't judge him for being like, whatever, Silas. But basically, it's like having that last slice of pizza where you have the temptation of just eat it. Like, your body's like, just fucking have the pizza. What's the worst that can happen? That's how I felt about just chucking it all, right? So, yeah. And then luckily I didn't, and that's when I kind of went through this journey of mental health and learning how to appreciate every single positive, all the little things, and not being stuck in this rigid mindset of all or nothing, or fucking you gotta win, or if you didn't win, then I heard somebody say that, this you're either a winner or the second prize is the first loser.
Oh, fuck
it's
off.
Some of the dumbest fucking shit, man. Like, it's
alpha male internet memes, man.
But I've heard people say that though. Like, it's people genuinely live by this stuff.
I'm not gonna lie, man. Like, I'm kind of laughing there, and I'm like, oh, that's not shit. But, like, I mean, it's like you have phases of your life in it. Take me back like 15 years to, like, when I was. It's probably longer than 50 years. I've been kind to myself there. Whenever it was, I was doing, like, MMA, cage fighting and boxing and stuff like that. Like, that was the mindset. That was the mentality, man. It was all part of that kind of toxic male culture type thing.
I mean, yeah.
But, I think, see, for anybody who's in their 20s or their 30s, that's a lot of that's just the way you're wired, isn't it? When you're kind of younger.
I don't know if you're wired that way, or that's just what you brought up with. Like, that's what you see around
nature nurture,
you.
innit, man? Nature nurture, innit? Like, culture's got a lot to do with it. I think the West of Scotland's particularly. I don't know. I say the West of Scotland's particularly bad like that, like I'm being over the rest of the world, but there is a lot of that in the West of Scotland, isn't there? Like this.
I think you'll find. I mean, we were watching a film yesterday that was based in Finland, and again, you see elements of that macho male culture where you're like, you cry to yourself, you don't fucking let the kid see it, and things like that. And then I know, like, sort of East European culture. I've got friends that are, like, from sort of Middle East, different countries in the Middle East, and that sort of male, you gotta get it done, don't fucking leave it to chance, it's you against the world, you gotta win. And yeah, it's
basically Hollywood's just fucked up the entire world.
I mean,
it's Hollywood, isn't it?
Hollywood's part of it, but, like,
fuck Hollywood.
I can see the allure in it. It's like you want the result, but it's something that we were talking about this during the race, that if you become too attached to the result and you're just fucking, as you said, if you hold on too tight, you're not going to get to the end. But because actually you're skipping the entire process that's most likely to get you there.
Aye, there's no learning.
And it's the process that's, most likely to sort of get you that result, but sometimes it doesn't, and that is okay. As long as you tried your best and you're learning the lessons that you can be learning from it to the best of your knowledge, you're winning.
This is great fun, man. Like, this is really good. Like, we went from suicide to pizza back to ultra running again.
It's a beautiful fucking...
Honestly, man, like, I'm dying to see how you edit this, because it's fucking all over the place. It's like a box of frogs on acid, man. It's just fucking
Which we need to talk about, Siri. We need to talk about your lifestyle off the pitch in a second. But
right, okay, aye. Aye.
But you were saying something, we were having this chat and I want to bring it back to you.
Right.
But you were saying something quite fascinating about, the ego that gets involved in race and having too rigid of a mindset.
Aye. Aye.
And have you gassed it out because you're trying to fucking keep up with Bob Turner?
Aye, that was it. Bob Turner, like, I did a race, Guy Bob Turner, like, absolute Scottish ultra running fucking rock star, and like I got like the advice, whatever you do in a race, don't come into the first aid station with Bob Turner. And I was like, right, cool, man. And then I've come into the aid station with Bob Turner, and it was just pure ego. It was just pure ego because I was racing Bob Turner, I was running with Bob Turner, and like because he was a rock star, I felt a rock star, and like it was brilliant. And it was brilliant. I mean, it was wonderful. It was like some of the best 11 miles I've ran. Like I just felt like 15 feet tall. But then fast forward like 10, 15 miles and like I was fucking moonwalking, man, because I was fucked. So Bob Turner.
And meanwhile, Bob Turner's still fucking Bob Turner, I take
well,
it?
no, actually, I took some solace for like just before I kind of pulled up, Bob Turner's hamstring went. I can say that because Bob's a pal of mine now.
No,
and I actually saw it happen in the hill in front of me, man, and I was like, I would like to say I was like, oh man, poor Bob, but I was like, fucking yes, man, I'm in second place now.
We become sometimes, like in competition, we become horrible people, don't we? Sometimes?
Pure dickheads, man, aye.
Like,
and you can like justify and rationalise any bullshit to you. Like a lot of people, like you're sitting in the cold light of day and like you look at stuff like people who have lied in sports and cheated and maybe crossed the line trying to get that competitive edge. But see, when you're in it, you know what I mean? It's like you do have the wee voice. Like the wee voice you were talking about is just saying, just end it. Like you've got that wee voice. You're like, you just cut that wee switch back. You're kind of still on the trail, or that might be a wee bit shorter. Do you know what I mean? It's like. Difficult, man. It's difficult.
Yeah, and absolutely that fucking wee voice that we mentioned it. I don't know. I hope the manager captured that, but it's like we all learn about people tell us, the wisdom, like don't listen to that voice or whatever. But that voice is specifically tailored to you because it's a part of you, and it knows exactly how to fucking sweeten that poison that you go. Well, maybe it's got a point. I mean, let me think about this really. And you have to be aware of like no matter how alluring and how fucking well packaged that marketing bullshit is, you have to be like, nah. Like, and sometimes it's heartbreaking to say no to yourself, but
have you ever, what was the book? Black Box Thinking, right? A book. I did a lot of books and all that. That was part of my crash to the bottom, man. Like I just got obsessed with like reading books. I say reading books, I make myself sound dead clever. Listening to audiobooks, right? I'm not that quick.
But that still fucking counts. It's still the same information just because it's not written down.
Okay, I'm sitting there with my glasses on reading my book, not at my pipe. I'm a fuck. Audiobooks running in the car, audiobooks. But it was like Black Box Thinking, this one's all, but like it basically just measures the airline industry against like fucking health services and how.
I think I've heard about this.
It's honestly, it's a pure game changer. But they cover a big thing, and it's all about this cognitive dissonance where you've got like this thought or this belief, and then you've actually got at the same time running in parallel with like a totally opposing belief, and it's basically how these two parts of your brain just come up, and the cognitive dissonance is like they basically kind of bridge the gap between what you think, what you believe, and what is actually easier to think and believe.
It's you come up
and
with
it's the bullshit. It's that wee voice. It's that wee voice is the bit in the middle.
I mean, it's classic. But you see that like when you talk about sort of discrimination, right? You talk about bigotry, and you'll see people like, I'm not a racist, right? Starts with that. But they've explained to themselves that this is somehow different, and they genuinely believe it. Like,
that's dissonance all over, man.
And that's why when you call these people racist, they're like, "I'm not a racist. What are you talking about?"
They're genuinely offended by it.
Yeah, they are
it.
because in their brain,
that's dissonance 101.
Yeah, because in their brain, this is what racism is.
Yeah.
But then this thing.
Aye.
Which is completely different from this, and it's justified. Like,
but see the difference between that belief that they're not a racist, but actually then that view that looking at it from outside, like that's really fucking racist. The difference between the two is that wee voice.
We had this chat with one of my pals from Eastern Europe because the Romani population is having a horrible time in Eastern Europe. Like, there's a lot of types of discrimination. If you're a gypsy in Romania, you're not having it easy, right? No chance. But we were just joking of like, if you have a conversation, like we're East European in the UK, we're dealing with our own fucking discrimination here, trying to figure out stuff and where to fit and whatnot. But if you have a conversation with someone who's like old school Romanian, they'd be like, yeah, it's, bigotry, discrimination is a bad thing. But see these Romanian gypsies though, that's different. They're the ones, they deserve it. You don't understand. They're not like, and you're like, what the fuck are you on about? Like, how does that make sense?
It's like Americans when you hear them talking about like fake news.
Aye.
And then the Donald comes on, starts spouting shit about fucking putting bleach in people and all that, and I'm like, yeah, fucking bleach. Like, you fucking insane? Aye, exactly the same.
Yeah,
man.
but
and fake news, don't listen to what it says. Donald says put bleach in, but Donald never said that, but put bleach in. Mad.
Yeah, it's mad though, and sometimes like this is not what the things we're talking about just now, this is not one example, but sometimes things can, like, there's an added layer and you do realize that, okay, what I thought was part of this bigger thing, it's like an exception to the rule, or this is something actually quite different which I didn't realize, I just lumped it in together. And that's why sometimes people kind of commit this cognitive dissonance where like, maybe this is one of those things that it doesn't apply to all the shit I believe in.
But that's the whole thing about cognitive dissonance, man. Basically, like, see if you've got like a belief or a thought, especially one that something you're proud of, makes you feel good about yourself, and then you're presented with this other one, this fact that just is counter to that belief. Like, it actually, dissonance is basically covers like the pain that's actual pain in your brain, where it's like uncomfortable.
Of course.
And like your brain doesn't like that. Like, so it just comes up with like a bullshit reason or excuse.
I mean,
it's that voice, and you just like you say, it's that wee voice that knows you better than anybody else, knows exactly how to tell you, like, well, actually, do you know what? In this specific circumstance, you're actually right here. I know it goes against everyone else, but you're right here. And it's that wee voice, man. It's a wee voice you were talking about.
Yeah, it's because I think this is something, again, I learned through mental health stuff, of like, the most difficult thing for any person to do is to change what they are proud of. Like, if you've been proud of something for a long time, and then to be like, well, that's actually bullshit. There's something else I could be proud of. It's an extremely uncomfortable thing, because I think pride is one of the most important needs we have. Because if you don't have that, then you start being like, well, what's the point of this? Like, I need to feel that there's something more to life than just living, almost,
Yeah. Do you know, I think that's one of the... Do you know, I think that's maybe... I don't want to say one of the good things. Like one of the kind of... One of the more pleasant things about being, like, post... fucking crazy person mental breakdown, man. Like, see when you, like, get broken down to, like, absolutely nothing, and, like, you realise, like, all of the thoughts and feelings that you've ever had could be just complete absolute bullshit, because like a lot of the thoughts and feelings you've had have just been total bullshit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, I think one of the nice things after that is like you get that wisdom that you kind of, you manage to put that pride away, because you're like, everything you're proud of could be a pile of shite.
I mean,
you get to drop the ego for the same reason as well.
I don't think you can fully give up pride, but you can just not attach it to a specific belief. And you can be like, you know what, I can be proud of something else.
Yeah.
I don't have to be proud of the individual beliefs that I hold. Or the I'm doing this right. And I think that's, coming back to the sort of rigid mindset, that's one of the most painful lessons, is sometimes the thing you love the most, that you're holding on so tight to, is the thing that's killing you. Well,
and that was one of the things that kind of killed me about, like, having a bit of a breakdown and like a hard time, man. Like, for all the things I did, like I was your quintessential wee West of Scotland wee hard guy growing up. Like, I grew up in that environment with loads of people and all that, and I took a lot of pride for that. And then, like, I went into the military, and it's like, I'm not going to say it's a tough life, but, like, mentally and emotionally, it's, like, difficult. And, like, if you cope with it well, you're like, yeah, I'm fucking handling this. And then I was, like, boxing, I was cage fighting, and I was ultra running and stuff. And I took, like, a lot of pride for the fact that I was, like, emotionally and mentally tough. And then emotionally and mentally, I had like a complete fucking collapse. And for years and years, even at this day, man, like I still really struggle with that. Like that thing that I was really, really proud of. Like, right, like I was talking earlier on about like running fucking 240 miles for 4 days and no sleeping for fucking almost the entire time. And talking about, it was kind of fun and stuff like that. And you need that degree of mental and emotional toughness to do that, you know what I mean? But
I mean, there's
with a breakdown, that was all taken away from me. And like you were saying, like that it was painful, man. It still is. Still fucking is, man, you know?
Yeah, because especially if that's what you know. And it's almost like if you grew up making that your source of value, meaning even, of my life makes sense because this is the kind of guy I am.
Nah, it's just tough, man, like losing like a big chunk of your personality and your character, or realising that this belief you had about yourself that you were really proud of is actually... I don't know.
It was killing you. It was slowly poisoning you, and that's how long it took for the poison to proper kick in.
Aye, man, it was a lot of shite, and actually, it probably wasn't very good for you, man. I say probably. It wasn't.
Yeah, no, I mean that's what it is. It's the uncomfortable. It is like it's a mind fuck to go. But no, but it has to be this way. You know, this is life. This is how life should work, and then life goes. That's not how it works.
Nah,
you kind of go.
That world
fuck.
of absolutes will fuck your shit right up, won't it, man?
Yeah.
Living in a world of absolutes will fuck your shit right up, man.
Yeah.
Therefore,
there's the one absolute, nothing certain. Yeah, it can be a real mindfuck. We talked a lot about the races, and I'm curious a little bit. We've talked a lot about this horror stuff and people fucking still getting through. What are the actual horror stories, though?
For the races?
From the ultra marathons. Has anyone actually died on a race?
There was a race not that long ago, man. Like it was in China. Like like they just fired these guys up onto a mountain, and like so you've got like a kit list for a race, and like ultra runners were terrible for it because we all want to be as light as possible. We always moan about the kit list, and there are some races you're like, this is insane, some of the stuff I need to carry. But they did a race in China. It was only like a year or 2 years ago or something, and they fired them up basically in a race vest with some water bottles and like a wee foil blanket thing, and they were up in this mountain, and a storm came in, and they just, I think it was up to about 30 people or something like that. They just get trapped in it. They couldn't get down, and they just all froze to death and fucking died, man. It's fucking dangerous sport, man. That's a dangerous sport. There's like a few of the races as well in like the Alps, UTMB. There's like people who have just been. Was it the PTL as well? Did somebody die in the PTL? It's like about 7 days all around about the Alps or through different countries.
Right, so it's...
You're basically just one rock slide away from just fucking swept the side of the mountain.
So what you're saying is a dangerous sport, but most likely you will be fine unless you start having these extra elements of climate.
It depends, like the races you do and stuff. It's not very often that an ultra runner just falls out in a race and dies. Like I've read about it and heard about it a lot more in marathons and shorter races, but then statistically there's probably about 100 times the amount of people running marathons and shorter races, or whatever the math is. Mathematically, there's probably a lot. So percentage-wise,
and you could always say that in marathons, there's always the chance of someone not doing the necessary sort of training. Because the more accessible it seems, people take it a bit less seriously. See, most of the time when you look into it, unless it's like a bad accident in a race, like most of the time, I think it's just like underlying health conditions, to use a fucking government buzzword. But a lot of the time it is that. It's like, I had heart conditions or had undiagnosed heart conditions. See a lot of Fitbit, didn't you? You know what I mean? Yeah. Some 30-year-old Fitbit player fucking unfortunately falls down because like he didn't know his heart was fucked. That was a lot. But I've not really deaths, man. No, I've not really. But that's good to know, man. I'm a big fan of like It's some beauty in that fucking. It's very muddy and visceral, and as you said, all sorts of fucked. You're shitey and fucking whatever entity from creature from the swamp is leaving your body, you know. But there's some sort of perverse joy in it, isn't there?
There is, man. There is like that. There is something, and I think I don't know, man. Like, I think there's a big draw, or a lot of people who stick ultramarathon runners or ultramarathon running. There's like a kind of mental healthy aspect to it, like
There's a lot of peace.
They either need it, or it helps them, or it fixes them, or whatever. You know, it's a lot of the stand-up, man. The amount of time you kind of hang about like the stand-up-y type thing, you kind of notice a lot of people, and you're like, all right, and people give you a wee kind of nod to like having a bit of a hard time or being a bit mental and stuff. But like that,
and sometimes you realise. Sometimes they don't tell you. You just go.
You can just see it, man. A lot of it, you just see it screaming at them, man. Like,
you're off.
I get you. I get you. But I like the ultra running thing. Like, oh fuck! I've totally blanked. Where were we going with that?
Just talking about fucking Jesus. I'm about to blank as well. But we're just now it's just like mental health. Yeah, it's just the piece of it and the joy of running. Sort of this perverse joy of doing something so difficult.
But there's something about the pain, and I don't know. It's kind of like, it's like a wee reward thing. I think, like, say if you're doing like 100-mile race, every mile is like a wee reward. It's like a wee dopamine buzz. Every hill you get up's a wee reward. You know what I mean? Every time you do a different leg or get to a different aid station, it's another wee reward. You know what I mean? It's like. Again,
it's continuous,
Again, to bring it back to comedy, right? Like, you get like, oh, I got an open spot here, or somebody actually booked me for one of their gigs, and that's like a big gig, and then like, oh, I ended up in one of these gigs, and every time you get something that feels as though it's a wee nudge up, you do get like a wee buzz. You're like, oh man, I'm making progress, and that feels good, man. Like, progress is important for people, you know. It kind of spurs action and all that jazz, doesn't it? And but like running's the same, but the difference with running is like it happens immediately. It happens every mile. It happens every hill. It happens every checkpoint. You know, you mean more progress. And a lot of the time with running as well, one of the things that the real buzz comes for is like once you become an ultra runner, like you get to this point, like you kind of get this perverse kind of like, I only want to do that because like it seems mental, or I only want to do that because I think I might not be able to do that. So like if you do get that wee mile checkpoint hill, and then you achieve that goal, like it feels good, man. It does.
Yeah, but there's also I don't know how to say it. So the only extreme thing I do, and it's not that extreme, is I do like ice baths and that kind of. I like the cold stuff, right?
I thought you were going to say something really seedy there, man. I was like, where's this going? Extreme.
So I just like to tie someone down. The only extreme thing.
This was going to take a pure right turn, man.
The only extreme thing I do is violent sex dungeons on a Saturday. So once we grab this, no
extreme public asphyxiation, masturbation. Like, what the fuck's that? Okay, man, cool. Fucking yes.
You do you, buddy. So I have a shame kink, right?
Is it to do with penguins? Sorry, ice baths. My CD.
No.
Interrupt you. Ice baths.
Oh yeah, that explains all the jokes about you make about shagging grannies, but
I have a CD brain.
No, but like that's the most extreme thing I do, and it's a bit of a mindfuck. Like I'm at the early days. Like I know people have taken it a lot further, and it's like you get to like hypothermia, and you like literally in that, or like you trying to push your body to see how much of the cold you can take. But like I've gotten to that point now. Right now, obviously, it's like doing the cold showers. Right now, it's fucking freezing cold, and you're doing the whole body, so you're like washing your head and everything, and that hits different, man. See that cold water when it hits the back of your head. It feels like your brain's cramping up, right? But there's something fun about it, no?
That shit can actually fuck you right up, man. There's like cold water shock, and it's like, because I started doing like the open water swimming thing. No, don't get me wrong here, right? With like a wetsuit on. But there was like a lassie, she was right in it, like a lassie Anna, and she was actually telling me about it, like just a lot of them wear hats, and it's like keep your head up. But there's this thing about putting your head up, like your brain and that can just switch off. just right away. It's like, and there's something about your brain and the cold water hitting your head, man.
I mean, if you're doing it, I'm doing it gradually. Probably, you know, fucking don't try this at home without at least talking to your doctor or something. You know,
fuck it, go for it. You'll be fine. Silas says you'll be fine.
I did not say that. And you're probably like, you know, I ease myself into it. Like, I've been doing this for like over a year now. Of like, it started with fucking cold showers in July, and then suddenly in September I realized the cold showers can get a lot colder, and then in fucking December it just feels like getting stabbed with ice, literally. But it just comes back to like, it is fun at some level. Like, once you get the initial shock away, your body kind of goes, this is nice.
But you get that wee achievement thing as well, man.
You get the wee achievement
because right away, that's what I was talking about a minute ago, man. It's like, oh, I couldn't do that, that's horrendous. And then you're like 4 months down the line and you've got that feeling of progress, and you're like, do you know what, man? I'm like sitting watching telly with ice cubes between my bum cheeks. You know what I mean? You're like, you've made progress. And it feels good. It's just that dopamine, man. But like, do you know what? I've got a lot of respect for people who do that cold water thing, man. Because like I've done like a lot of things that are mentally, emotionally and physically tough, man. Like the cage fighting, box and all that kind of jazz, and the ultra run and stuff like that. And like, I'm a bit like a kind of hummus seat and tree hugging, like, you know what I mean? I love a good fucking healthy fad type thing, and I really...
So you say you're into goop, or like stones up the vagina and stuff?
Oh man, I could be here all day talking about my goop fetishes. But like, it's a bit like Formula One and rugby, right? Like, I really, really, really want to be into the cold water thing, but I can't do it, man. I am like a total cold water pussy.
I'm checking now here.
Oh, is that alright? Aye.
Yeah,
I'm the central heating.
I'm checking the fucking cameraman now. I'm not taking any chances.
Aye, like I can run for like 4 days, man, but I can't stand a cold shower. I can't hack it. So like, see when people tell me about it, man, like there's a part of my brain when people tell me about it, I'm like, fucking hell, man, your nails, you're hard as fuck. I hate it.
I know. So like, I've the most running I've done, right? And you can chuckle at this all you want. So during the lockdown, in 1 month with no training, I decided to do 5k every day. So for 31 days, I did 5k every day. And then the last day, because I was so fucking high on having done 5k for a month, I celebrated with doing another 5k after I finished my first 5k. So I did 10k on the last day.
Did it fuck your shit up?
I mean, I was sore. I wasn't injured. I had no injuries.
Right, aye. But, did all right then.
Yeah, but it was... So I respect some aspect of the running. I haven't done any of the mad fucking 200-mile runs that you're talking about, right?
I would see the running thing, man. It's like, see for me, and like there's a common theme for I hang about with a lot of runners, and there's like a common theme, man. It goes with just being like a sport thing you do. It's basically like dairy therapy, man. You know, and like I know it's not for everybody, but like I would recommend it to anybody, man. You know, I would recommend it to anybody. It's like, but like again, what I was saying earlier on, you need to spend that time, and it is a big fucking time investment and energy investment into becoming a runner until you get to that point. You know what I mean? You need to earn it. You need to earn it, man. Yeah,
that's, I guess, kind of rolls into one of the topics that sort of flagged up in my head as you were talking about this, of the business side of it, right? Because I'm guessing there's people putting on the events. I saw the sponsorships. Are you still part of the team? Like, I know you're part of the team.
I'm freelance now, man.
All right, okay.
I'm freelance now, man.
You're just free running.
I was coached for years and years, and just maybe about the last 12 months or something like that. I don't know. Just like what I wanted for running changed. Like when I started off, like my primary goal was, right, I want to become an ultra runner. Then I did that. And then I was like, next thing was just the way my brain works. So I was like, all right, I want to see how good I can become at ultra running. And then I was like, I'm becoming all right at this. And then I was like, right, I want to see if I can win some races. And I want to see if I can win a better race, or if I can win a longer race. And it was all, you know what I mean? But it was all these very, very extrinsic things, you know what I mean? It was all like benchmarks, these extrinsic things, like, oh, you won a race, or you broke that record, or whatever. And but in the last, like, I don't know, maybe the last couple of years, we're doing more stuff like the kind of Cape Wrath Trail thing, where it's nobody's watching. It's just kind of for you, like my motivation for the stuff I want to do now is more intrinsic, you know what I mean? It's more for me, it's more about stuff that I want to do and for reasons they've got nothing to do with what people think about them. So like I kind of came to a realisation, like if I'm not pushing to win races anymore, I don't really need to be coached anymore, you know what I mean?
Right,
like,
that's fair.
My coach was like a kind of high level coach, man. He was like the fucking biz, you know what I mean? He was the absolute bomb. But I don't know, man, like the whole racing thing, like I suppose once you've played the Apollo, right, like by the fourth time you've played the Apollo, you're kind of like, it's just the Apollo then, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
I haven't played the Apollo yet.
You can imagine what, can you?
Yeah, I know what you mean, but like...
Remember that first time you did Red Raw?
Yeah.
Right, like, fuck. How many Red Raws you got now? It must be a couple.
I've done my third one.
Right.
I've done 2 last year and another one this year.
Third one's great.
We'll see if they have me back.
Third one's great, innit? But that first one, you know what I mean?
I mean, the first one I was shaking, man. Part of my body was like, even though I've done it before, I was just part of my body was like, whoa. But yeah.
I think that once you've done it a couple of times, like, and then like kind of what I was saying earlier on, you need to find another goal, don't you? You know what I mean? Rather than just try to repeat that first hit of the dragon.
Well, I was just curious before we start talking about your dragons and LSDs and stuff. I was just curious, like again, in the business side of things, like this is is a niche thing. Not many people do it, right? Ultra marathon running, but
it's like that.
It's growing, eh?
Oh man, big time.
I think David Goggins has got something to do with it because he's been preaching so much about it that people
it's becoming more commercial and it's becoming more popular on the socials.
Is it fucking up the vibe?
Yeah, it's a wee bit, man, but like,
no, casuals rocking up.
I had the exact same thing with MMA, man. Like when I started like cage fighting, there was like about 10 of us doing it in Scotland, and then over like the next 6 or 7 years, this was like through the noughties when the UFC exploded. So like by the time I kind of jacked it, man, like you started off and you were talking to people, you're like, oh, I do mixed martial arts, and like they literally didn't know what you were talking about. And then like by the time I jacked it, like you were nipping to Asda to pick up like fucking...
And someone's gran was like trying to put a fucking chokehold on you.
Aye. There's like some big dude with like fucking, you know what I mean? He's like 15 stone overweight walking there with like his bad boy UFC t-shirt on, man. Tap or snap. You're like, this has got a bit commercial now, man. And it's kind of getting the same with like ultra running and stuff like that. But I don't think that's necessarily like a bad thing, man. It's very different for like loads of people getting into the whole cage fighting thing, whereas like I think the more people who are spending a lot of time on their own in the wilderness running, funning out about themselves, the fucking better, man, you know. I think it should be prescribed in fucking schools as part of the education system.
Just imagine, like, if you're a politician, in order to become an MP, you're going to run an ultra marathon.
Aye.
Read a book and run the ultra marathon.
I think like before, like you can be elected to Parliament, you need to spend like 3 years living a life of an ultra marathon runner, man. Like, because then you've got like a lot less chance of elected MPs being absolute fucking bellends, which a lot of them tick that box, man.
So not a lot of nonsense in ultra marathon running is what you're saying?
Well, I'm not sure. Maybe we've just not had the big expose yet. I don't know, man. Any sport nowadays is a ticking time bomb for some sort of scandal, isn't it, man?
Yeah, fair enough.
Cycling taught us a lot, man.
Fair enough. So yeah, I'm just gonna come back to that. So it's becoming a lot more commercial. I'm just curious of like the other, I'm learning a lot of the business side of showbiz right now, so I'm always open to see how other industries do it, especially when something that's so, you know, like again, it was quite niche, ultra marathon, and like getting events and like getting sponsors, like how.
I think it's like everything else, man. It's starting to just get a bit more corporate.
Did it just start with people kind of going, you know, a couple of people liked the running and then they pushed themselves and then other people showed up and they were interested and next thing you know, someone had a company that was like, fuck it, I'll put some money into this and get some exposure out of it, and then
there is a degree,
somebody came up with a fucking drink, like, yeah, as you said, like some sort of bevy brand to like you drink this for all your fucking electrolytes, and the next thing you know, it's just growing and
there's
growing.
There's a lot of ultra runners and some races and stuff, I think, as well, are sponsored by Red Bull.
Right, okay.
No one is drinking a can of Red Bull during an ultra. Fucking no one. I've never seen it in my life. Running about with your fucking Red Bull in your flask and that. But ultra running is at that point at the moment where it's like you've got these races have been built up from nothing with pure just love and enthusiasm. And it's at that point now that it's just starting to get like some big companies like Salomon and stuff like that are putting on like big, huge fucking running tournaments all around the world and stuff like that, while ironically preaching about like fucking carbon footprint at the same time. Doesn't go unnoticed. So it's getting that point that they're realising there's money in it, they're realising it's kind of sexy, and there's a lot of kind of big businesses starting to get in it, but there is still a lot of races out there that are like grassroots and stuff. Like the premier race in Scotland's like the West Highland Way, and it started off like I think it was like 3 people did it the first time, in like 70s or something. I don't know. I'm fucking shit with facts, but and it built up, and they call it the West Highland Way family race, and they still only allow like about 200 people or something to do it every year, or maybe even less than that. And like it's a committee of people who all live within like fucking maybe 10 miles of the West Highland Way, and they've kept it really, really tight, so it's got this family feel. And like I think loads of big companies would line up to either sponsor it or just buy it and take it out, because you could market that out of the world. Come and run the West Highland Way in Scotland, you know what I mean? But there's a lot of races, and like Lassie's races we're talking about, like he would never thing it to corporate, so a lot of ones holding it and stuff, but there is,
I mean, yeah, there's
the companies have realised there's money.
Yeah, there's shift that happens, and when corporations get in on it, a lot of times it gets diluted, because now it's like they want to appeal to most people, so it just kind of dilutes what it's actually all about a little bit, so it becomes tiered, I guess. So then
it's two sides to it, man.
I think it becomes diluted a wee bit, but there's the element of you get more people around it, more buzz.
Aye.
So, and you can still have those exclusive, you know, like you said, the Lazarus race, where you have to fucking catch an owl and attach a ladder.
Your finger in your ear on one.
Yeah.
I suppose it gives you choice, doesn't it, man? It opens up to loads of other people, but at the same time, like you can choose and go. Like, there's a big race, UTMB, right? It's like one of the biggest in the world, but it's like very, very razzmatazz, and you can choose to do that race, or like you can fucking choose to go and run across the desert with like another 30 people while nobody's watching, you know. It's down to choice, innit? It's down to whatever you want to do, man.
Okay.
A lot of that's the corporate and big money and stuff, but I'd probably say where most people are making a living, and where like in like a kind of not a personal level to me, but to people on a personal level, like where people are making their money, is there's big dollars in the coaching. You know what I mean? Coaching's huge. Like, imagine you're going to commit like 6 months of your life to getting yourself ready for running your first 100-mile race. So you can either do that by trial and error, or you can spend like 150 quid, sometimes 200 quid a month, getting like some high-level professional who's got like decades worth of experience to give you like a weekly or monthly plan and just keep pointing you in the right direction. So, and the thing is with ultra running as well, man, it's like it's an affluent sport, man. It is an affluent sport, right? Like, I stick out like a sore thumb sometimes, man. It's like there's a lot of...
Is it actually?
Oh, man, aye. Oh, fuck, aye. Aye. Uh-huh.
Is it actually?
Oh, big time, man. It's like working middle class to middle classy kind of sport, man. There's like...
There's a lot of, hello, Graham, how are you today?
It's mad, man. It's been good for me, because like I've been like exposed to like loads of different people for different backgrounds that I would never have came across in like my usual wee social circles, man. And it's kind of broadened my horizons, you know, because you'd be like good guy wank, and then like you start hanging about with these people who are like fucking like doctors and accountants and work for like fucking newspapers and all that jazz, and you're like, actually, you're really, really sound. turns out maybe I was a bit of a narrow-minded wank. It's great, fucking great, man. But it is like, there's no denying it, man. It's like it's a very affluent fucking sport. And it's like,
so you've been hanging out with the lizard people, is what you're saying?
Aye. Basically, man. Let's not start the crazies, man. I thought if I can get through this whole podcast, we don't trigger any crazies to write any crazy comments.
Listen, sometimes you want the crazy.
Fuck it, man.
There's a certain degree of crazy that you're like, that's just engagement, but then it can go into like...
I suppose it's a view, innit? Aye, right.
It's someone's opinion.
Aye. Should we get the right? Fuck it. Real, right, you maniacs. And there are no lizard people living under the Scottish Parliament. There you go, man. That's got to be 10 views. Got to be 10 views, man. Maybe no any likes.
See, I might have to beep some of that now just because YouTube, the algorithm doesn't like you mentioning certain words. But
oh, really? Oh, man. See, I don't know this shit, man.
Fair enough, man. Fair enough. I guess I'm just like curious about the stand-up now since you're doing that as well.
Aye. Stand-up's good, man. And it's quite good. For me...
How long have you been doing it now?
I couldn't even tell you.
Oh, you remember when you started, though?
No. Honestly, I couldn't even tell you. That's how chilled out and relaxed I've been. My brain doesn't work great with putting chronological timestamps on it.
It's maybe all those fucking 2-hour naps you've been taking in 4 days.
Aye, for 4 days, aye. No, it's all the kind of mental healthy type thing and the way my brain works. Like,
fair enough.
Aye, it's like I really, really struggle with like putting. I could struggle to tell. I was like, say I was saying like I had to look at my watch and I'm like, I was in Tennessee last month. That's hard for me to figure out. Or like 4 months ago, I couldn't do that. I could never do that, man. I couldn't do that a couple of weeks ago. It's kind of hard, man. But but also intentionally, like I could tell you like all the years and probably all the dates and maybe even all the times of the races I did. Because like running has been like such an intense part of my life and so important. But like I was saying earlier on, man, like I was really, really adamant that comedy wasn't going to come like that. So like I couldn't. Longer than a year.
So you've just been chill with it then?
Aye.
I mean, I've seen you popping up and you
man.
got some wild stories and that was one of my favourite memories though, man. You're like doing the gong show with you where you rock up out of your nut, hungover, not any other substance. My man rocked up hungover as fuck.
I was fairly rough, man.
Was that a 3-day bender?
I think I was still. I don't think I was rough yet. I think I was still pissed.
No, because the gig was on Sunday Eve.
Aye.
8 p.m. and you were like, I went out on Friday. I haven't been home yet.
Aye.
And you ended up doing a 5-minute set about you being absolutely fucked.
It was a bit of a mad weekend, man. A lot of people watching this again, man, they'll know, be like, oh, that's fuck all, man, because like they come for like the 90s as well.
Because they do the marathons of Eckies and...
Like they like the 90s were mental, man. The 90s were like a different level of mental, and I think once you get that level of mental when it comes to partying and getting out and stuff like that, no matter how, it never leaves you. Do you know what I mean? It never ever leaves you. And like now, like I'm in my 40s and I've got 3 kids and like I've got like a proper real life and stuff like that. You've still get that. Fuck it, man. Let's go for a bender.
I mean, we haven't even talked about you in the Navy and stuff. So you know that's for a whole different pod. But
but it's mad, man. And like you just even that the lifestyle in the Navy, man. Like it's like. Especially when you're younger, and it's not so much now, man. They had like a couple of bad things happen and all that, and they kind of clamped down on the drinking. But like the first 10 years I was in the Navy, man, it was like just like the drinking and the benders and stuff, and that was just mental, totally insane again, man. But again, it's kind of part of my personality, I suppose, just that excessiveness. Do you know what I mean? You're like, oh, I want to get into martial arts, so I'm going to do cage fighting. Oh, I fancy doing running, I'm going to take up ultra running. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, I like making people laugh. I'm going to become I'm going to start doing stand-up comedy. That extreme part of your personality bleeds into everything, I think, man.
I had a bit of that, I think, again, because I had this whole, if you're going to do something, do it properly, and it was always... If I ever picked something up, I always looked around at what's the best possible way to do this, and I was like, well, that's how I'm going to do it.
Aye.
And I mean, that's okay to some extent, but sometimes you look back of like, I did like bouldering, climbing on a wall for a while, and I like it, but when I started, I was like, that's it. I fucking got the shoes. I still got a fucking box of just chalk in my room, and it's like I bought like a 600, 700 gram of box of chalk.
Right.
Climbing's like 50 something quid a month, so I couldn't fucking afford going every month. You know what I mean? So it was like, just spend all this money because I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it properly.
Smash it.
Yeah, and then now just looking at the gear of like, I don't have time. I've got other priorities right now. I still pop in every now and again, but I was like, why did I have to go all out? Like,
I don't know, man. I think you're driven to be passionate about everything, aren't you? You know what I mean? You've got to work hard about everything, but
I'm a bit more chill. I was like, I don't have to do everything 100%. Like, I have to make it work for me now.
But I do. Life. I don't know, man. Like, I enjoy a wee bender. My days, you know what I mean? I did my race in Tennessee. Right. This is actually quite a good story, man.
Right, go on.
I did my race in September there, and we finished the race on the Saturday, and then we kind of just started, and then we were in Nashville, right? So the Sunday morning we went to Nashville, and I was there with two of my pals, and we went straight after the race. We met my mate Big Larry, who helped.
So this is how many hours of sleep? So straight after the race. So
we'd be ran. I had 10, 11 hours ran that day, and then I finished. Still had my running gear on, and I was like, Larry, where's the beer? And I just straight to his truck, pulled out a beer, and then I just started drinking, man. And we went to like this bit of the park, like Big Cove. We went to Larry's trailer and stuff like that, and I think we were there at about midnight or something. And then my other pal came and picked us up, and then we went back to our Airbnb, went to bed, got up in the morning, drove to Nashville, went into our new digs, and then we went out in Nashville at about 2 in the morning, and then we got up the next day, and then we went for a walk just before 12.
Because you're Christians, innit? You need your walk.
But we went a walk down Nashville Strip, the Boulevard, and then it was like,
that kind of walk?
Man, it was like 12:15, and it's like, we're probably best getting a wee cure, aren't we? That was us, man. It was like fucking 3 in the morning again. We were fucking doing mad karaoke and all that. And then so we went up back to digs about 3, and we got up the next day, and we went and done a Jack Daniel's whiskey tour, and then we came back, and we just sat in the balcony, and then that was it. All kicked off again, and like we were going to go out, and I actually it's the reason I've not actually did any stand up. No, I did one gig since I came back. Like we came back, and my pals were out in the balcony. I was like, I can't speak, and they were like, what? I was like, I can't. And I literally couldn't fucking speak, man. And like between like the race, and like my flights had been cancelled, my luggage had been lost, and then my other flights get cancelled, and the fucking hire car, the wheel get dinged, the whatever get smashed. It was a mental week, man. And like with the physical, mental, and emotional of the race, but I imagine the partying didn't help either. But I literally couldn't fucking talk, and I was like, it was mad because I was like trying to talk. And then, like it. I was like that, exactly like that. And,
were you having just a stroke?
Well, that's the thing. I fucking thought I was, man, because like I saw my dad having a stroke. But what was weird was, and I found out about it, it's like different parts of your brain, I could sing. I could sing. I could sing. So like, I'm fucking, the only way I could guarantee myself I wasn't having a stroke was to keep singing. So I was like trapped singing Oasis songs to make sure that both parts of my brain were still working. I was freaking out, man. It's like I phoned my medical insurance.
Today I'm fucked, I haven't slept.
Oh man, I've not been asleep for a week and I'm stressed in my box. I'm
gonna throw it back to you.
Oh man. So I phoned my health insurance and I was like, look, I'm in Tennessee and that, and I can't really fucking speak.
You were just singing on the phone? Like,
I can't really talk. And the woman's like, oh fuck, right, let me check your policy. And she's like, oh, you're completely covered. Get yourself to a hospital. And I went to the hospital, and I walked in, and they were like, fucking, what's up with you? And it was like, nobody's really paying attention, and I'm like, I can't really talk. And the lassie's like, oh. American healthcare, man. Holy fuck. So good. It's amazing. It's fucking amazing, man. Like, I went in and I sat down and she's like, oh, that seems quite serious. Sit down there. So I sat in this chair. She was very particular. And she did this thing on the computer and she's like, right, that's us done your weight. The chair I was sitting on took my weight. And then she's like, prick, prick. She's like, there's your hydration levels, there's your blood sugar level. She's like, right, we're just going to quickly do we're going to take your blood pressure. And I'm like, right, cool, man, no bother. And she did all these checks while she was checking me in. It was like a fucking med tech or something like that. And this was literally like 8 minutes after walking in the front door. And I'm like, right, cool, man. And she's like, right, we're going to start you. And I'm like, right, that sounds good. So they wheeled me through and she's like, I've got a start patient, can you take him through, tell him to check the file. And I went through and they wheeled me like 20 feet and there was 10 people all looking at me. They all stood around me. They all had different jobs and stuff like that. And
is this private or public?
American healthcare. See, if you get money, get whatever the fuck you want. You get it fucking quickly, man. There's none of this. Oh, we'll get you to see a consultant. I was gonna say
while you're in the UK, you're still on the phone with the fucking receptionist. Like, why? The doctor's gonna give you a call 2 weeks from now if you're okay.
To see if he'll refer you to the consultant in a year. Mad, man. So it was like 10 of them. And the doctor's like, right, okay, here's what might have happened to you. The worst thing it can be is a stroke. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to check you out. And they were all like, we're going to look after you and you're fine and you're cool and do you want it?
There's also like a mad Scottish lad. So you're like, oh my God, people. My dad is, like my great-grandfather's from Scotland.
That's the only time I never had any of that, man. But like I had shorts on and I'd just done the Barkley Fall Classic and my legs were like shredded. Like, I mean, like, it looks as though Freddy Krueger had been like fucking shaving my legs for you, man. Like shredded, and my arms are all shredded, and I've got cuts in my head and stuff. And I'm like, I couldn't really speak, and I'm trying to explain to them that I'm no like a mad serial killer or something. Or, you know what I mean? A Deliveroo driver who's been attacked by a serial killer. Good call back. And like I'm trying to explain to them, man, and I can't talk, and they're like, don't worry about the scratches, we'll check that later. He's like, we're going to get you checked. And I was like, right, cool. He's like, we're just going to do we'll take an x-ray and we'll do like a quick, what was it, man? An ECG of your brain. And I'm like, right, cool, man. And I'm like, oh, fuck, I better fucking text the lads, man. I went to see them in the balcony, right? And I was like, I need to go to the hospital. I think I'm having a stroke. And they're like, it looks a bit weird and that. I was like, right, I'm just going to, it's actually just like a block away or something, so I'm just going to fire away. And they're like, right, sound, man. We're probably still going to go, but we'll message you, and if you need it, and like, I said, my mates, fucking unbelievable. I'm in the hospital, man. I'm like leaving, and my mum was like, have you got some friends can come and pick you up? I was like, I'm here with my friends. She's like, they coming to get you? I was like, they're on Broadway drinking. She's like, they're not very good friends. And I was like, actually, they're like my best friends. Unfortunately, they're Scottish friends. Fucking priorities, love, man. They're having the night of their life.
Listen, you're not my wife, you're not having a baby, and there's a chance I would miss that too, so calm the fuck down.
They justified it the next day, they were like, there was one point, like we went to get pizza, and we were like, kind of proper like talking about you, like I hope he's alright and that, and I was like, oh man, I'm so fucking touched. They let me go to the hospital myself and they fucked off out the drink. And like when I went in and told them, like I thought I was having a stroke and they agreed I might be having a stroke, and they left you could see the fucking disappointment in their face, like, oh fuck, we might need to go with this prick. Fucking unbelievable, man. But see, to be honest, right, like I'd have done the same thing, right? I'd be like, right, sound, man, I hope you're alright. But so anyway, so I'm in there, right, and it's like, fucking dickhead. I'm in there, right, and like, I say to this woman, like, where's the toilet? And she's like, oh, just do a pee here. And I was like, where am I going to pee? And she's just like, pee into this, nods this cup for me, man. And I'm like, literally peeing into this cup and this lassie's on. And then, like, I'm sat in the chair and I'm kind of falling asleep and stuff because I'm a bit fucked. And this guy walks in and he's like, excuse me, Mr. Connolly, lift your arms. And I lifted my arms and he's like, just puts this thing in my chest. And he's like, right, cool, that's your x-ray done. Just going to wheel you along for ECG. And this was like, I've now been in the hospital for like 19 minutes to 20 minutes or something, right? And I've peed in some lassie's horn. I've had the fucking everything done. And then they fire me along, and I did like an ECG thing, and then like they get the results, and like within 10 minutes, I'm back in the room, and I'm like, what's happening now? And they wheel in this big fucking TV, big massive TV, and like a Zoom Teams thing comes on, and this consultant's on it. She's like, hi, Mr. Connolly, yeah, I just got bleeped there. I've just looked at all your stats and stuff like that, and I've looked at your ECG, and it's kind of inconclusive. Like, we don't think you're having a stroke, but the only way we can absolutely be sure it's not a stroke, and I'd kind of like to do it, but it's up to you, you need to choose, is to get you an MRI. And I'm like, well, I want to make sure I'm not having a fucking stroke. I'm all in on this whole not having a stroke thing. And I was like, well, we need to do the MRI. She's like, I was hoping you'd say that. Right, let's get you linked for an MRI. She's like, I'm really, really sorry. There's going to be like a bit of a delay, but I promise you, I'm going to phone them. We're going to get you in there as long as you can. And I was like, oh, right, there's a kicker. No, I'm going to be here all night. She's like, it might be as much as 40 minutes. I was like, fuck. And I'm literally, right, I can't talk, and I'm trying not to laugh, and her screen face on Zoom, right?
Meanwhile, with fucking kidney stones,
man.
like 40 minutes just lying, wait 30 minutes for the fucking painkillers to kick in, just literally on the fucking... Like,
my wife, right, was 8 months pregnant, right? She was 8 months pregnant. She was like that, and she got this nosebleed thing, right? That she literally had to drive to the hospital with Tampax stuffed up her nose, and I mean, it was running at her.
Aye.
And she sat in like the waiting room for 2 hours, pregnant, 8 months pregnant, just blood streaming out her, man. And I'm sitting here like, her and the baby need blood, surely. Like, this just should be snappier. A couple of hours we were there, man, and I'm in there like 35 minutes, and they're apologising that I'm maybe going to be another 40 minutes to get my ECG, man. It was mad, man. And then, like, actually it was 15 minutes and I got an ECG. American healthcare, man, is absolutely fucking insane. However, it's good for a reason. I then got the email. Fuck me, man, 11.5 grand. 11 and
but
a
you
half
had insurance.
Oh, thank fuck for insurance, man.
So what kind of insurance is this? What do they need to get on?
Do you know what's gallus, man? It was like the free insurance that comes with my bank. Fucking result. Fucking winning, man. Winning. It was the free insurance that came with my result, man. So, but it came with my bank, sorry. So it was good, man. I felt a bargain. Felt a fucking bargain, man.
£11,000, man.
$11,500, man. But like fucking insane.
Oh yeah,
man.
sorry, dollars,
Here's the kicker, but right, like I got out and stuff. I just did this conversation with the woman, right, and then like I'd kind of defended my father's Scottish friends, and like it's just the way we are. It's the way we are. So like I got to the front door, man, and I did have a message off them, and it was kind of like, let us know you're okay, but it was like split into like 2 or 3 messages, which told me by this point they were bluttered. So I was like, fucking hell, man.
Hope you're not having a stroke, LOL.
I think by that point they were that drunk, they were like, oh, because fuck for he's having a stroke, wasn't it? Imagine getting to wheel him on a plane, man. We wouldn't even need to queue. That's the kind of level they'd be on, man. But like I got out the front of the hospital, and like I'd fell asleep in there, and like it all kind of reset, and I was kind of talking again, all right. But it went on for like about another 2 weeks or stuff like that. And I came back, and I was doing a gig in Rue, and like I had 20 minutes at the end, and it just seemed to be triggered any time there was any pressure or stress. Like I was talking all right, and then like we had to start travelling again, and it kicked in again. It was mad, man. And it's kind of fucked me up a wee bit for like going and doing stand up now, because like I know it's not going to happen, but like doing that gig for like 20 minutes, and I could feel it, and I was starting to kind of mumble and all that, and then I drove home for the gig with the boy who was putting it on, Jonathan, and
were you doing
Jonathan
Sutar?
Jonathan Finsley's. He's got one to Barton, one in Brew, neurodivergent dance. Great gig, get on it, man. You're welcome, Jonathan. I was doing that, man, and like I was really struggling during my 20 minutes, and I came off, and I was like to Kirsty Lynch, I was like, Kirsty, that was happening there, I couldn't fucking speak. She's like, I can't really notice it, and I was like, she being polite, man, because I was like pure freaking out, and like it's kind of freaking me out a bit still now, man. Like nobody like to talk, it's fucking weird. And
I was terrified.
But see, by the time we got in the car and we were like going home, like I was trying to explain to Jonathan like what had happened to me, and it was the worst it'd been, man. And he's like, it'd be okay and all that, man. I was like, I must be freaking him the fuck out right now, man. Oh, it must have been weird as fuck. But I came out of the hospital.
Like, it's okay, man. I'm just gonna go to the pub now. Geezer calling.
Oh man, aye. Oh, you should hang about with my pals. But that was the best bit about it, right? Like I got out and I'd literally just been defending my friends to this lovely, lovely lady from Texas, man. And I got out the front and I messaged them and I'm like, good news, it's no a stroke. Think it's alright, man. But I was fucked, man, right? And I was totally freaked out. And it was almost instantaneously I got a message back from my pals like, cool, think you could come and pick us up? I was like, you fucking assholes, man. They weren't even kidding on, man. They weren't even kidding on. I fucking just turned my phone off and fucked off and went to my bed. I was like, you pricks, man. And they thought it was hilarious, man. But they were serious. It wasn't even a joke. They were deadly serious. Could you come and give us a lift? You're not having a stroke, you're fine. Come on, dude, get us. Dickheads,
you don't need to talk while you're driving. You can fucking sing out the window.
Oh, but I knew I couldn't go down and get them, man. Cause like
karaoke.
See if I went down and got them, I'd have just left the card in there and then that's it. I'd have been back on it again, man.
Fair enough.
I would have. They'd just been back. Well, you're not with a stroke. You're right. I will just have a cure and then that's it. You're fucking fucked again. Aye, the evil swally, man. Man, I don't even know how we got to that, man. It's a mad story.
We just got into your fucking lifestyle, but I think...
Aye. I do like a bender, man. I do like a bender.
I think that's a good note to end this on. I think, like, that's...
Aye!
We fucking went through the...
I'm an ultra-running, crazy alky who struggles to speak. Book me for all your upcoming gigs. I may or may not be able to talk.
But you can sing your bit.
Aye. Knock, knock, who's there? Aye.
Thank you so much for coming on, Graham. Really appreciate it.
Hey, go on, bring it in.
Bring it over here,
It's been a treat, man.
What a day, man. What a day.